Hello.
Hi. So yeah, Ellie and Chris back here again on March 26th. March 26th, which is day 6 of our lockdown. So coming to you in a better mood today, and just had a very nice uplifting few minutes. If you weren't aware of it, at 8 p.m. there was a sort of national drive for everybody to go outside, well, not to go outside the house, but to go to their windows, open their windows and have a nationwide round of applause called Clap for Carers. Basically to show our gratitude and thanks to the staff working within the NHS to help everybody at the moment, and not actually just the NHS but also care homes and support workers across the country who are helping us all handle all of this. So I heard about that, it was mentioned on the news and it's sort of been doing the rounds on social media, but as with anything like that, you don't quite know where it's like how popular it's going to be. We live in kind of a small, it isn't actually a cul-de-sac but it feels like one, so it doesn't have like any thoroughfare or anything, so I wasn't sure if anybody in our street would be doing it, but actually it was quite nice to see that several houses in the street had people windows open, lights blazing, big rounds of applause and cheering, which
I think we sort of started things off, didn't we, in our little cul-de-sac. We were the first people to start. I'm not going to lie, felt a little bit silly, a little bit self-conscious, but people joined in.
People joined in, yeah.
So...
as a bit of a twist, I was mainly flashing lights on and off because I couldn't shout as much as I would like because symptoms have developed from yesterday. I am now... my sore throat has slightly altered and is now a bit of a cough and a bit of a tight chest. So that's fun. That would be fun anyway, but obviously in the current climate that's a little bit but what I am reminding myself is, firstly, could just be a cold. Secondly, even if it is COVID, most people have it quite mildly and bounce back. Thirdly, don't let my head run away with me on this one. I'm currently feeling okay. I'm a little bit tired. Well, I'm always a little bit tired. I'm a little bit more tired than I normally am. And yeah, just a little bit, the only making me think that it is actually sort of proper symptoms of something rather than just my anxiety getting away with me, because I actually thought, oh, tight chest, that literally could just be me panicking. The thing that I am noticing is it's focusing on one side. So when I try and take a deep breath, I can sort of feel tension on this side, and that was also, my sore throat was worse on that side yesterday, but that's evened up now. So I'm feeling a bit scratchy, a bit of a burny throat, and a little bit tight-chested. But overall, I'm still chatting to you. I am okay, but I guess I'm a little bit worse than I was when I got up this morning in terms of tiredness and a little bit more tight-chested, but I'm okay. So all being well, not all being well, hopefully tomorrow I'll be fine anyway, but you never know, you might get to see like a gradual decline and then improvement. So if there's any of these that Chris has to do on his own, you have to do them on your own because I'll want to watch them.
Okay.
So if I am feeling rougher tomorrow, then we'll see what happens. But my intention is to keep at it, and bearing in mind that most people, if it is COVID, which it might not be, if it is COVID, then I will probably have it mildly, as most people do, and it'll be interesting to document.
Here's something I don't know. What's the difference between COVID and corona?
There isn't one. Coronavirus is a group of viruses that we've basically always had and always studied. COVID-19 is this mutation of this virus. Okay. So my understanding, my science is not great. But my understanding, so that's why there's a few people sort of, some of the like conspiracy theorists who I love, they'd been saying, this is all a government conspiracy, because look, if you pick up a bottle of Dettol, it already says that it's effective against coronavirus, and they only just knew that this was a thing, so why have they been preparing for it with Dettol all these years?
Just the government and Dettol working together as a team.
Hand in hand, and also printing it on bottles, even though it's a well-known government. So basically, coronavirus is a type of virus that we've always had. I think mainly it was an animal virus, and this is the first time. I don't know if it's the first time it's done animal to human transmission. This particular mutation has made the leap into humans, but also has human to human transmission, and as we have discovered, is quite infectious. But coronavirus itself isn't a new phenomenon, but this particular mutation of coronavirus, which is the COVID-19, so it signifies corona, vid was something else, and 19 was the year of its discovery. So it's a particular generation of the coronavirus. So that's where that comes from. So if you say you got COVID or you got coronavirus, we know what you're on about. That's what that is.
So it does mean there's been a change in our house. Not really a change in real terms, but
bugger all's changed for me. But yeah.
But we've gone from lockdown, which everybody should be doing, to full-on isolation because Ellie is now symptomatic.
Yes, thankfully, very mildly symptomatic, as proven by the fact that I am still talking to you. But yes, basically, I'm sort of looking into a little bit of what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. We were already following all of the guidance for what we were and weren't allowed to do, just general populace. So that was only leaving the house for essential things like medicine, essential grocery shopping, to help someone vulnerable, or to go to work. And we weren't gathering with more than 2 people. And we weren't meeting anyone who doesn't live in our house anyway. Those were the rules for everybody. But the main change is if you have symptoms, you shouldn't go out at all. If you live with someone who has symptoms, you shouldn't go to shops, you shouldn't go to other households, you shouldn't do anything where you're going to sort of busy places. The one thing that I was relieved to see that you can still do as long as you're not symptomatic is take your exercise, daily exercise. So you can still walk the dog, which Lucy will be very pleased to hear. But you obviously must be extra vigilant to make sure you keep your distance with people when you are out and about. I technically, because today is the first day of showing symptoms, after 7 days, as long as I no longer have symptoms, I can go back to normal. But Chris has to stay on full isolation for 14 days. That's due to the incubation period. So obviously,
feels like bullshit.
Chances are that if I've got it, you've got it, or if you're gonna get it. But it could be that you've managed to hold off until now and you catch it from me today, which might mean that you don't show symptoms for another 7 days, which is why you have the 14 days of isolation. If at any point in that 14 days you start to show symptoms, then you're like, okay, it's 7 days from now. But if you don't show symptoms, I think the data coming out of Iceland at the moment is suggesting that it could be up to half of people who get this don't show symptoms, which is actually
already got it.
Might be. I might have caught it off you.
Yeah.
And he was the one going out and about to work more than I was. I was being very well behaved. I think I left the house once last week, and that was to go to work once, and then I get ill today. So I've practically been fully self-isolated anyway. But this one, Bugger Lugs over here, has brought in the germs.
But now I'm stuck in the house.
Yeah. And stuck with me.
I mean, like I say, in real terms, we haven't been going to the shop. We haven't been doing anything apart from our one exercise a day. Don't worry, I'll carry this. We haven't been doing anything apart from our one exercise a day. We haven't been going to the shop. We've been living on what's in the cupboards, which we're still going to be doing. But what it does mean is we can't, if we're running low of stuff or we need some more food or essentials,
we will have to rely on other people to help.
Yeah, and it also means we can't go to the shop, which, to be honest, at this point, we're having lots of fun in the house, but I was viewing going to the shop at some point next week as quite a treat of like, and I'm not talking about a trip into town, I'm talking about the Tesco Express or the corner shop, each of which is about 3 minutes away, and literally stocking up on essentials and maybe thinking maybe I'll see something that I can treat myself to.
Yeah.
And none of that is happening now, so... Yeah, that's a shame.
Sorry. Yeah, but we're doing the right thing. There's also, which I was going to look on my phone, but you're my phone. There is also an app that one of Chris's sisters actually pointed out, which for everybody, particularly people who are symptomatic, but actually it's a new app. I think if you just type COVID-19, the app will come up in the App Store on Apple, whatever it's called. But yeah, basically that has an inbuilt questionnaire about your sort of normal health status, your current health status, if you are experiencing symptoms, which symptoms you're experiencing, and it asks you to then update it every day, even once you're better. I would recommend that everybody get it, because that is going to be a massive data pool that basically, because this is so new, they are still learning about it. So any data that you can put into the app, particularly if you're symptomatic, because one of the things that I've noticed is there's a lot of mixed messages coming out about the symptoms, what exactly happens to you. For example, one of the reasons why I may well not have this, not have COVID and just have a bog standard common or garden bug, is that I currently don't have a temperature. In fact, my temperature has gone down to 36 degrees, which is just sheer bloody mindedness, I have to say. But one of the two main things are cough, dry cough usually, and a fever. I just have a cough and a bit of a tight chest. However, some sources seem to be saying that some people develop the cough first, then the fever comes later. Some people are the way. Some people don't have any symptoms at all, and and all sorts of variances. So they just don't know. I was reading also a doctor's report from one of the London hospitals, basically saying that they've sort of been dividing people into green and red zones. So red zones being suspected corona and green being other reasons why they've come into hospital. And they were finding that some patients, which later turned out to have corona, were presenting with different symptoms. So for example, this one patient that she mentioned, obviously not by name, mentioned presenting with quite bad abdominal pain. And actually it was only that she sort of then later sort of said in passing, oh, I have coughed a little bit today, but like not to the extent of, oh, I've got a cough. And I think everybody at the moment, one cough and you're thinking, oh, I coughed. Is that a sinister cough, or is that an innocent cough? So it certainly wasn't that she had a big old cough that was taking her to the hospital. It was almost like it was an afterthought of, oh, actually, thinking about it, I have coughed a bit, but my main reason for going to hospital was I've got a fever and my stomach really hurts. So there's lots of data, and it may present slightly differently with different people. Ultimately, they just don't know. So if you can just do a little bit once a day, it takes like 5 minutes. Track your symptoms.
Looked up the website. If you want to find that app, you can get that at covid.joinzoe.com.
Cool.
So that's COVID, obviously spelled covid.joinzoe.com.
Lovely. So yeah, you should be able to find that. I would recommend everybody start inputting their data on that, particularly if you have symptoms, etc. Because even if it's literally just that today you've got a little bit of a cough, obviously that might go away tomorrow, in which case you track that it's gone away. But later, when maybe they've got better testing available, they can sort of go, you were one of the people who just had a mild cough and then it went away, and blah blah blah. So just put in your input now, put in your data now, because if somebody asks you 3 weeks from now, which did you have first? Were you coughing first, or were you short of breath first, or you're not going to remember. So just track them now. It'll help. It's one of the big universities that's sort of collecting the data, but I think it'll just be handy for anyone researching this. So anything that you can do to help, do it. It can't hurt. And again, it helps you feel a bit useful, which when you are stuck in the house, not able to do things, that in itself is kind of good. You just feel like, that's something I can do. So I recommend everybody does. So that was covid.joinzoe.com, or just go to the App Store and look for COVID, and I'm sure it'll come up.
We're actually recording a little bit early this evening, earlier than we normally do. There's a few reasons for that.
Mainly because I want to go to bed.
Yeah, so, well, firstly, because we're going to be watching a streamed comedy night, which you can still look up the event. It's Frank Foucault's
Probably by the time this goes out, it might have gone out.
Oh, it probably will have.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, good point. So it's too late to do that. But we're going to be watching a live streamed So
We've
comedy
been
nights.
plugging it for days, so if you've missed it, then
yeah, but
you missed it.
we're doing that, so we're looking forward to doing that this evening. Also, we didn't want to have to wait and record after that, and then Ellie, being as she's a bit tired and feeling a bit under the weather, doesn't want to be up all night uploading things to Facebook and YouTube, and
Very selfish of me. I'm sorry, guys.
I don't really know how it's that. Well, I've uploaded things to both those things. I don't like to brag, but I have. But I don't have her phone, and I don't know exactly what accounts and things and passwords she's using. So she's in charge of all the tech stuff, and she doesn't want to stay up late.
If I succumb to this dreadfully and I'm in bed tomorrow, I will tell him how to do that, I dare say, but I'm sure it won't come to that.
I hope it doesn't come to that.
I'm quite curious to see what
I
you do
understand.
talking for half an hour on your own, because I have realised when I've rewatched these is I do talk a lot, and you, bless your heart, occasionally pipe up and then I talk over you.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's fine, because I don't want to have to carry this. And the other reason that we are recording this slightly earlier this evening. Look away, it's fine. The other reason we're recording this slightly earlier this evening is that yesterday, my dad watched last night's one of these and commented that he worried that I was developing a drink problem because I was drinking one can of cider during the recording, a solitary.
That was
can
your
of
only
cider.
one yesterday.
The only one I
wasn't it?
had yesterday. So what we're doing is we're recording earlier this evening, so I can just have a Pepsi Max and we can get the recording out of the way before I start the evening's heavy drinking.
Right.
So I will be drinking heavily, although we kind of have to ration that now.
Yeah,
We can't get to the shops.
yeah. We're not gonna be, well, I don't think I'm going to be drinking for a few days until I feel a bit
cool.
better.
So I've got a box of wine to myself.
So, yeah.
So that's something.
Just because I don't think that's a very wise idea, really. But once I am fighting fit, I will fight you for that wine.
It will all be gone. You won't fight me for the wine, you will fight me about the wine.
That is probably quite accurate. Because neither of us can go to the shop at the moment. And, when you ask a friend, I've got several friends who are just going, oh my God, look after yourself, rest up. And I'm going, guys, please don't worry about me. It's fine. It's literally just a mild cough. But they go, if I can do anything for you, it will look bad if I basically say, oh, yes, actually, could you just buy us some booze?
Booze and batteries.
Booze and batteries. But we got loads of food in, and we've been quite careful with we stocked up the freezer quite well. We weren't dicks about stockpiling, but we sort of made sure that we had we always keep quite a well stocked food cupboard anyway. So your tins of tomatoes and beans and pulses and all that helps having a vegan diet, because then I sort of try and keep a good stock of pasta, rice, beans, lentils, because they're all good protein sources. So actually you had quite a good dry cupboard of sort of staples anyway.
I like cooking, so that's been fun.
Yeah,
but
it's been very handy. I don't think I've cooked a thing since we've been on lockdown, and it's great. It's very good. That's nice. It's handy. If I was on my own, I'd be just living off probably Pop-Tarts. Oh no, they're not even vegan. I'd be living off bread and butter.
I did manage to burn some vegan Vivera steaks though last night.
Yeah, that was my fault though. I gave him very poor instructions.
And I slavishly followed those instructions without really checking that things weren't burning. So, fault on both sides. But
last night I rewatched, and I've noticed actually I blink a lot more than I realised anyway, but I think last night it may have been due to the fact that it was a slightly smoky atmosphere in here, because that was not long post Viveras. They are lovely, by the way. But yeah, so if I looked like I was having some sort of fit last night, I think that might have been why. I didn't realise until I was watching afterwards. Another thing I've noticed that I do a lot, having watched these back, is I touch my face a lot, and you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that, Chris.
Touch somebody else's face. That's the current.
I'll breathe
that's the
over
government.
you.
That's the current government advice. I think is touch somebody else. Don't touch other people's
No,
faces.
to be honest, we're being quite blasé about that, but to be honest, I've been breathing all over him for weeks now.
It's been quite weird. I don't know. I can't remember when she started doing it. I don't remember why she started doing it, but I get home from work and she just breathes on me, and for up to 8 minutes.
I gotta get my fun somewhere.
And that's what she does. But yeah,
weirdly specific. Why 8 minutes?
I don't know. I don't know why 8 minutes.
I don't know.
You tell me. But
that's the 8 minutes that you know about. I wait till you're asleep and then I just. Like I say, you gotta find your fun somewhere.
Very unsettling. Anyone who's been following this regularly will be delighted to hear that I the batteries are holding out, and I beat a level boss on Pandora's
Woo,
Tower.
he didn't tell me this. He saves this gold for you guys. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know, he would have been...
Elated.
Exactly. Well, I'm quite pleased, because I'm not very good at finishing games. I tend to kind of move on to something else, and so this was a game on Nintendo Wii that I never finished. And sometimes if you come back to a game where you've been gradually working your way through it, you find either that the kind of difficulty curve that you've been learning as the game goes on, you've forgotten. So suddenly it's a lot more difficult.
You kind of have to start again.
Or you stopped because you reached a point that was too difficult for you.
Yeah.
But actually, this is quite a good... It's sort of puzzly, and you have to kind of... mazy.
I'm gonna have to start putting Pandora's Tower in the tags for this video because you're giving it a good plug-in.
I'm gonna have to start a Twitch account, aren't I? And people can watch me playing Pandora's Tower. I don't really know how you do Twitch, but yeah.
I don't know. I can't really follow. There's people who make good living just playing games for people on Twitch. Although I think there may be a certain extra market for attractive young women playing games on Twitch. But there's a market for you, I'm sure, Babs.
I'm
sure we can find the market.
There must be some...
Maybe if we had more of that fake tan that we were talking about.
There must be some sort of gay subcategory that I fit into. That must be a group of men somewhere who's into whatever this is.
There might be women who are into whatever that is.
There might be.
There might be out there somewhere, some woman who's into that. The mystery goes on. So I'm losing my thread a little bit. But I am... Oh, well, I will go back, actually, because yesterday I think I talked a fair bit about the mental health struggling, and actually a few friends quite nicely pointed out, I'm not sure if this is actually a problem with your mental health right now, because I think it might just be a legitimate emotional response to quite a tough situation, which I think is fair, because actually it wasn't... previously, and it's been a long time, and actually my mental health's been pretty darn good for a pretty long time, but yeah, back in the day I had some great fun with agoraphobia, quite bad anxiety, touch of the old suicidal tendencies, and it's been nothing like as bad as that. But when you sort of have a day where you just feel sort of inexplicably low and grim, it does take you straight back to that, and just straight back to remembering how grim life felt, sort of, and yeah, that's sort of always a bit scary. So when you can nudge, when you do have a day like that, you sort of go, oh God, I hope I'm not walking down that path again. But actually, then today I woke up feeling, well, physically a little bit worse, but emotionally a lot better. So maybe it was just a wobbly day because everything's a bit mad and a bit grim, and we did share some grim stuff yesterday, which we're going to try not to do today.
But if anyone is feeling a bit overwhelmed, try and reach out to people, friends and people online and on the phone.
It helps. People. It really does help.
B, don't feel bad about feeling overwhelmed. You are right to feel overwhelmed. We're all getting a lot of information at us.
We are living in a chapter of future history books right now, and that's a weird sensation at the best of times. It's not like a good chapter. So yeah, I think it is overwhelming. So that's okay. And yeah, but we do reach out, because actually consistently across the board, everybody I spoke to had a little something to say that did make me feel better, and also just reminded me that I wasn't being bananas and irrational, and actually made me feel better. And I'm sure you will have friends and family out there that will also want to be feeling useful. So if they are able to sort of at least talk you through feeling a bit low and you feel better at the end of it, that sort of probably makes them feel useful and helpful as well, which is always nice. So I think just reach out. There's no shame in it, and most of the time people would rather know that you were struggling than you put a brave face on it. Brave faces don't really help anyone, to be honest. So reach out, have a chat, and yeah. So yeah, just do good stuff.
Big news today. If in the government briefing.
Yes.
If people don't really know, big news today is the government have finally stepped in and done something to help self-employed people. Glad they've done it. It's taken them long enough, frankly. As a comedian, I know lots of stand-up comedians for whom comedy is their main or only source of income, perhaps the main or only source of income for their household. So hopefully they're now going to be able to claim the help they deserve and need.
It is good. One thing that is not so good about it, I do understand this, I don't actually think this is the government sort of dragging their feet. I think because it's an entirely new scheme that has to be made, implemented, systems put in place, etc. Like, it is quite a big task. But they have sort of said that, and this actually also goes for employment figures, that the money itself probably won't get to people until June.
So if you're a big company, like, that's probably okay.
Yeah.
Because you can
probably just dip into your reserves and then it'll all get paid back later. But if you are self-employed, chances are most people I know who are self-employed don't have savings. And what they have said that they can do to help those people is basically you will have access to loans that are 0% for 12 months. I don't know if they have early repayment charges, but if they don't, you could take a loan that will see you through till June and then pay it back. So you'll be able to cover it. Again, there's a few people that fall through the cracks. And again, it's very hard to sort of legislate something like this. People who are falling through the cracks are the newly self-employed, because they're basing this on tax returns for the last few years. So ideally the last 3 years, but as long as you at least did one for this most recent tax year just gone, they can base that sort of to give a rough guide on your earnings. Obviously, if you're self-employed, you might have started a company 2 years ago and not made many profits in the first 2 years, because most companies don't. You're kind of investing, but there we go. They're basing it on what information they have. I think that's mainly so that they can avoid fraud, people just saying, yeah, I'm self-employed. So there are sort of things in place that it has to be your main source of income. So for myself, I'm not sure quite where it's going to fall, because I'm self-employed as a director of the escape rooms, but I also take a small wage. So I suspect I will be going to the 80% of my existing wage, because that's going to be the easiest to legislate. I don't think I get to double dip, but that 80% of my wage should cover me. So that's fine. But it is good news for my partner, David, who doesn't take a wage, that he should be able to get something based on our previous few years' profits, which were modest, but will hopefully count for something. So there's help out there for different people, and most people are covered. I think of the self-employed, I think he said up to about 95% of people were covered. And it only goes up to a certain earnings bracket, because if you earn loads more than that all the time, I think their thinking is you can probably afford to cover yourself for a few months without pay. But I think that was talking about people who are earning like profits of like £200,000 a year, and it's just like, yeah, you like. So
it's similar to what they're doing with
wages.
They're
capping
it. 80% up to a certain point, and if you're beyond that point, then you should be.
Well, you've probably got a few bits of something that you could sell.
Yeah.
If you're like taking home, if 80% of your take-home salary every month is more than £2,500, first of all, I'm quite jealous. Second of all, if you haven't been putting aside money and saving, then I don't have a huge amount of sympathy for you. So don't live if you're just living right on the edge of those means, then you're living quite well, I think. So, but sorry, that might be being very unsympathetic, but I've never taken home anything like that amount of money. So yeah, screw you, eat the rich.
But also, I mentioned yesterday there's a Just Giving campaign called Heckle the Virus to help stand-up comedians who are struggling right now. So if they are, because the help is being given to the self-employed now, but there are people, as Ellie mentioned, who are falling through the cracks. Some of those might be comedians or people who can't afford to hang on until June or whenever the money's going to come through. If you watch comedians on TV and you don't go to live local comedy nights, first of all, buck your ideas up, get out there. There's some great local comedy, go and see it. I mean, not now, obviously, but in the future, go and see live comedy. There's some great comedians, and you don't have to pay 30 quid to see someone in an arena or whatever. But if you do mostly watch stand-up comedy on TV, and you probably imagine, well, they're on TV, they're on good money, they're all right. There's a lot of comedians who aren't on TV, who make a living, but it's not riches. And so
certainly not necessarily enough to save on anyway,
because
it's a gig economy. It's people are
And it's
they might have a
seasonal.
good month and they might have a bad month, and that's kind of how it goes.
And a lot of people have invested in accommodation and things ready for the Edinburgh Festival that might not be happening.
Oh yeah,
Can't get deposits back. So there's a lot of people who are hurting at the moment. So if you want to go on Just Giving and search for Heckle the Virus, that's the campaign to help the comedians there. All right, anything?
Cool. I think that probably covers everything that we should get started on now, because we're almost at half an hour anyway, and that's sort of roughly where we're trying to aim for. But yes, so in summary, I'm feeling better, but I might be massively infected, so that's great. So now you're going to get to see like full lockdown, so that's going to be interesting. Hopefully it'll be a non-event and you won't be watching this develop in real time day by day, and I gradually look iller and iller, and then I'm just not there. That won't be good. I don't think that's going to happen. It's fine. But it may be that
Don't like that
he does
joke.
a lot. He might be doing more of the talking if I get a little bit more short of breath.
So fingers crossed for all of us, guys, that Ellie's okay.
Oh,
Nobody.
bless. I thought you were making the opposite joke then. I thought you were hoping that I would shut up.
No, nobody wants me to
Oh, bless.
do this on my own.
I kind of want to see how that goes, but yes. So I think that's just about everything for today. I don't know if they're going to keep doing the clap for carers thing. I hope they do, because actually it was quite nice, and I think that might be something that snowballs. So yeah, that's nice. But in other ways, if you find ways to support NHS support staff and help people out, then please do keep doing lovely things. Look after each other. Reach out to your friends who you think might be struggling a little bit. Not just ones who are on their own, but just everybody's probably finding this all a bit much. So do talk to each other and listen to each other, and just try and be good to each other at the moment. I think is probably a good rule of thumb. Try not to be dicks. How's that?
Try not to be dicks.
Try not to be dicks.
Not like you normally are. Try to be less like the dicks you normally are. You terrible people.
Oh.
You know how normally in normal life you're dicks. Don't
Try not to do that.
be less dicks.
Be less dicks.
Be fewer dicks.
Okay, I think that's.
Don't be as much of a dick, guys. See some of you in your heads watching this correcting my grammar. Don't do it, guys. It's a dick move. Don't be a dick.
I think that's us done, isn't it?
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, guys.
Don't be a dick. Bye.